we'll do the live thing first. Like, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bigmark podcast. It's me, your host, Bigmark. If it's your first time watching, welcome. If not, welcome back. Like I always say, if you ever wanted to reach out to the podcast, join us here as a guest, do anything like that. You know, let us know if you wanted to hear about a topic. Let us know if you wanted to hear about a specific thing, or let me know if I missed something on one of the deep dives I've done on all these so many topics, and I'm sure I have over these years. But again, thank you all for being here. You're doing the best thing you can possibly do by listening and supporting and following along. And thank you again so much for doing so. This is what we do. We do it for you. So, but you by being here, you know, supporting us so much. And if you wanted to go and help us out a little bit more, like, subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube, like the videos, do all that fun stuff, and join along, share with your friends. And if you want to go even. If you want to go that extra mile, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thebigmarkpod. I'm super excited to do today's episode. You know, it's a little late in the day right now, but still getting it out because I just got home from a drive from London, Ontario, where I just came from the annual pumpkin carve. And it's so funny, after I've done all these episodes, at this point I wouldn't be surprised if I've already done an episode on this, but at this point we've been doing the podcast long enough and the pumpkin carve long enough that, you know, at some point I must have talked about it. But if not, and if it's your first time hearing it, that's excellent. But we're gonna be talking about the annual pumpkin carve, which is something that goes down with my friend group from Western, a bunch of my teammates and their significant others. We all got together. Actually, the first time we ever did our carve was in 2010. So in first year, right away, we were like, you know, let's grab some pumpkins, we'll carve it, because my buddy Mike and his partner Jen, who have been together since before that time, and lived off campus, so they would invite us over and we'd have some fun and you know, try to solve Rubik's Cubes and do all that fun stuff. But again, it was since first year. There may have been some missing years. I don't think we did anything over COVID. I'm almost certain we didn't. But we've been doing it for a long time, so I wouldn't say it was the 15th necessarily anniversary, but we've been at least at it over 15 years. Let's just put it that way. So we've added more, you know, more people have joined. Some people couldn't make it. Some people have made it to every one. And I believe me, my buddy B-Rye, and his significant other Britt, and I mean Mike, of course. I think that was it as far as the OG crew. But Mike's brother, who we played football with, Matt, our other buddies, all these guys that we played football with who now have children and careers, and it's so fun, doctors and lawyers and businessmen. And it's really fun. It's really fun getting back together with everybody, even though this year actually wasn't as busy in the sense of not as many guys came, but everyone's got at least a couple kids. So it was a bit of a madhouse, but, you know, super fun. It's Halloween. It's always fun to see the kids running around and enjoying it, putting on costumes and playing with the decorations. And then we all carve pumpkins. So, you know, I've at least talked about like carving pumpkins themselves and just the fun we have there. But, like, you know, it's really interesting with the medium of pumpkin. It sounds super it sounds super lowbrow, but it is a very, like, carvable vegetable, or whatever the fuck it is, fruit, you know, vine ripened fruit, whatever the fuck you want to call a pumpkin. So, like, it is fascinating what you can actually do with it. And, you know, over the years, we've all just kind of, like, did a bunch of different stuff. Some people do more intricate things, some people do less. I always say the pumpkin tells me what it's going to be, I look at the pumpkin in the moment, and then it tells me what I'm going to carve into it. You know, I guess Michelangelo said something similar, but it is this whole idea of using the shape of the pumpkin, trying to incorporate that into it, incorporate the overall geometry of the pumpkin, and trying to use the space. So the one I did today was quick and dirty, and it wasn't one of my best ones, I will admit, but it was super fun. And it's usually funny because usually there's kids, you know, rocking and rolling, everyone's doing the thing. And actually, I think what made the big difference is, you know, I've always kind of avoided, you know, there's like those classic pumpkin carving kits you get with the spoon and like the little saws and the little, like, you know, the little cutting implements and things like that. Honestly, the one that looks like a little jigsaw or like a scroll saw, basically like a jigsaw blade, that is the shit. Like, I've never really used those before, and I use those today, and it's, man, it is easy to like do corners, like all this stuff. I was always the guy who used a knife, and I thought, you know, use a super sharp knife and you can do all this stuff. And it's like, super sharp knife is really good for like doing like straight cuts and like cutting the top off and like chunking out big parts. But there was something about using this, and you just like keep, and man, you have pretty good control. So me and my buddy B-Rai, I was at B-Rai's house over the weekend, and we did a little homebrew as well, which actually turned out well. The brew part of it turned out well, and the initial 24 hours of fermentation was going well. But again, we're kind of missing a part for one of our brewing pieces of equipment, so we're gonna have to wait for that. And then we just kind of, we're starting, like, we've had a couple new additions thanks to Coleman. I don't know if you're listening, but at work, I adopted some homebrewing equipment from my buddy Cole at work, and it's really good, but it's a bunch of stuff, and we're just kind of like going to try to slowly incorporate it and not really rush into using that stuff up right away. But so we use like some new stuff, and then also like just getting used to the stuff that we do have with the homebrew equipment. I digressed. So things went really well there, but B-Ryan and I and Britt also went down to the pumpkin carve today, and B-Ryan and I just did like pretty straightforward designs, nothing too wild, and just, you know, kept it easy and got it done. And, you know, I find that like when you're carving a pumpkin, easy is better. Obviously, you don't want it too intricate because you want it to have like structural stability. Like, again, you can do amazing things, beautiful things. I mean, me and my parents used to always go to the Waterford Pumpkin Fest, and there used to be amazing pumpkins that anybody can do, and that would impress anyone. And then there's some that anyone can do that are a little bit more generic. But again, that's the thing with the pumpkins, right? Like, it's supposed to be cool. It's supposed to have a light in it. It's supposed to light up, right? So you want it to be able to do that. You don't want to cut a big hole in the front of it that any little breeze is going to blow that candle out. So you got to try to keep that in mind, and then, you know, try to make it look like the thing that you're trying to make, right? So if the thing that you're trying to make is very specific or needs to be, you know, very intricate and detailed for people to know what you're representing, maybe it's not the best thing to do, right? You know, so even if it is a fucking hammer or something stupid, if it's done well, people will be like, oh wow, that's a nice representation of the thing, right? So again, it's super, super fun, and it's always an interesting approach as far as how intricate you want to be, how much you want to do it. If you've noticed the shirt already, this is the Prowler Flu. This is from our gym, actually, at Western. Our strength and conditioning coach there gave me this shirt. But every pumpkin carve, we get together and get after it. So it's a shirt of honor, and it's you know, at least 15 years old now. Geez. So, yep, the pumpkin carve, man. You know, it's kind of one of those things where it's really fun to get together. It's a potluck too, so everyone gets to bring their food. Actually, this time it's funny because I was like, I'm gonna bring a sourdough bread, right? Like, you know, something I like to make, but Mike reminded us, he's like, hey, there's going to be like 25 to 30 people here. Again, a few people weren't able to make it today, so it wasn't as many. It was probably more like 20, but still. And they're like, oh, I'm like, okay, true. So like, usually the sourdough breads I make aren't like the biggest fucking breads of all time, but they're decent sized buns. And the way I cut it, actually, I cut it like kind of like a blooming onion. So like I cross cut it. So like do like vertical cuts one way, turn it 90 degrees, vertical cuts that way, and you can like break off these little chunks of bread, right? So that was my plan. But Mike was like, my buddy Mike who was hosting was like, make 2. So I'm like, okay, sure. And just like fucked up one of the breads like big time, just like trying to make it. I totally messed up the way I usually add everything in, and all the weights were all fucked up. So I had to go get more flour, and then I didn't have enough starter to do 2 full loaves with the old starter that I have. So I had to use another starter that was a little older. Anyway, it actually like turned out decent. Like honestly, it wasn't like, I could see some people saying like, oh, this is like, someone just like making one of their first sourdoughs. Like if that was one of your first sourdoughs, like I commend you, because it was actually turned out pretty decent. It just didn't have enough oomph behind the fermentation. I think if I left the first ferm a little longer, it might have perked up a little bit, but it was just kind of on its last legs. It's not as robust of a starter. It's a starter actually that we made at Escarpment Labs, but I have only fed it a few times. The other starter I use is like 5 years old, I think, about at this point. So, and I've always used it, and it's been beautiful, and it's made me great bread, and it's awesome. I leave it in my fridge. I don't treat it super well, but when I do bring it out to the party, she fucking comes to play. So shout out to that starter, because it made one nice loaf and one kind of shitty loaf. But people were eating the other one. They liked it. It still tasted good. It tasted like sourdough. Honestly, in some ways, tasted more sour than my starter, because my starter's a little lighter right now. I think I got to like, again, get it fed a little bit more. But again, it still fucking works. Like I don't add active yeast when I make the bread. I just use the starters, and it rocks. So made 2 breads. Made us a little bit late. Sorry, Brian Britt, but I was at their house cooking, so like, trying to do both things, and I was like, ah shit, I was so worried about the one loaf that wasn't gonna work. But again, it wasn't terrible. Looked good. And then just was like smaller and not as poofy, because again, just didn't have the oomph. And yeah, like I said, it's a potluck, so everyone brings different dishes. B-Rye and Britt brought this goose, like wild goose that she caught, like legit like canned goose basically, and we fucking chomped on it. Made like little sliders, tremendous. Meatballs, little mac and chine situation. Really light for the kids kind of thing, like nothing too heavy. A little chili action, which Mike had some nice hot sauce that he hooked up, which was good with the bread. Then we had some great, little snackies here and there, some awesome cupcakes at the end. So they always put on such a great host. Jen and Mike are such great hosts. And again, thank you guys always. I know it's always tough to even chat at some of these things, right? It's like, it's almost like a wedding, in the sense of like adult parties can be like that, where especially if you're hosting, you're usually running around so much and talking to other people that you don't always get a chance to really bust it down with people. It's other guests that get to talk at length. But again, love you guys, and thank you so much for always having us and always being such great hosts, putting all these people together. You have your own 2 boys to take care of, let alone all the other girls and boys running around, and the parents trying to catch up, and the boys trying to talk and reminisce and fucking hyperbolize and do all this shit. And but again, always great to see everybody. My buddy Greg Wilson too, who was there. He's a lawyer, and he's like trying to push his lawyer his practice a little further, I guess. Is like, I don't know if he's like an associate or anything, but his his lawyering practice wants to push it out there, and he's like doing some cool social media videos. And Matt is a high school teacher and coach, and he was just talking about, or he used to, him and Greg used to do this Smoking Turtle Barbecue Instagram channel, which they were doing really cool barbecue and like, you know, things on like the big green egg and like smoker recipes and just like smoked meat, I guess, recipes, I should say. And so obviously they're super busy with the kids and work. And I said, hey guys, like if you guys want to come on, so hopefully I can get Greg and Matt in on the podcast. I mean, I'd love to get them in. Hopefully I can literally get them in frame. No, it's all right. I'm just joking, boys. We're all offensive linemen, so I mean, we got B-Ryan on camera too, and we just need to move the camera back a little further now. It's the funny thing about this podcast is, I mean, some of you know, it's mobile. I can take this on the road, and we can chat abroad. So I'm hoping maybe lock those guys down, because that would be super fun. And again, these guys were, I think, 2 years ahead of me in university. 2 or 3 years potentially. Like they were like the senior guys on the football team when I was kind of coming in. Not like like there was some guys older than them, but they were like, you know, the the 4th year guys at that point, right? But I remember them showing me around res and stuff too. But I think that maybe we just commandeered some first year guys. Anyway, I'll throw, I think, 2 years ahead of us. Let's just say that they were 2 years ahead of us. So great playing with those guys. It was such a special thing. Matt went on to have an excellent CFL career. G. Willie was our starting center. I mean, I never got to play on the team, like, you know, play for Western, like in any games. I was on the team and practiced essentially. But you know, you get to know these guys, you spend a lot of time with them. You're on the team with them. Like you're not on the fucking team. And don't get me wrong, unfortunately, there are some guys that, you know, it's such a big team, you do get lost in the sauce a little bit, but like, yeah, not everyone gets to play, whatever, but you still share these moments with these guys. You're still on the field, you're still practicing, which is majority of the time you spend in football. The game, you only play 1 game a week at best. And then, off-season training, parties, you know, all this shit, bar stuff, like, you know, you just go through so much together. You know, if you have a social bone in your body, you're going to make fucking friends on the football team that are going to be your friends for life. So I think, again, it's such a brilliant thing. I think so many things, you know, not to go on a complete tangent here, but the values of sport are talked about often on the Bigmark podcast. And I think one of the biggest values is that you have these lifelong friendships with people. You've been through muck and shit and blood and pain and collective wins and collective losses and sobering moments and moments that change you and shape you as a player, as a person, and that you take into life, and you never forget those moments. And I think having traditions like this pumpkin carve that we do is something that you know brings us together. And I think they're super special. So again, thank you guys. Thank you, Mike and Jen, for hosting it. Thank you all the boys and girls that join us now, and all these boys and girls and have been coming since they were babies. So they don't even know. They're just like, this is what we do every year. This is just what you fucking do. And I love that. And again, you know, it's when all the kids are running around, you know, it's hard to get to know them, and you're just some other face in the crowd. And I think it's always funny because we're all big dudes, right? You know, most of us are ex-offensive linemen, and I think it trips out some of the kids because they're used to their dad being the biggest guy in the room, so they just kind of run to them, and you can tell and this happens all the time, no matter who you are or what size you are, but kids just running to the wrong big guy and talking up to them and just like, oh, I'm talking to the wrong person, and moving on and finding their actual dad. So again, I think it's so funny. It's fun to be around these guys. It's so nice to see them and their families and their lives that they've created and everything. But again, those are the things that you take with you, and that we might be lacking in this day and age, in this time where, you know, we are kind of throwing tradition out, or questioning tradition. We're not throwing tradition anywhere, but we're questioning tradition. We're questioning its importance. We're questioning its how it's actually enacted and how we actually do things and how we actually carry out some of these traditions. Some of them have morphed, and that's how human evolution, social evolution goes. You know, all of these ideas morph and change over time. Some of them are constant, and maybe there's a golden through line through a lot of things, but there's always going to be change, and there's always going to be development. There's always going to be times where humans are going to take things and make them their own. But I think right now, in today's political and you know, interpersonal interpersonal atmosphere, I think a lot of people want individuality. They want their personal self to be comfortable, and they realize that what they want and what they need is what's going to make them happy, and they want to get that at any cost. And as long as it's their own thing, if they want to make it their own, if it's custom, if it's they're the only one to have it, whether it's their identity, whether it's their politics, whether it's their Tamagotchi, their fucking Labubu, their Pokemon card, they're the only one with it, and it's special, and their ideals are customized to them, and they're so unique that one day when there's hardship and we look to each other, because humans are social creatures and humans are cooperative beings, when we actually look to try to find someone else to help us, we're not going to be able to find another person like us, because we're so different, and we've made ourselves so different, and we've separated our identity so much from that of the common person, that when we actually need to look someone to reach a hand to, you don't know which direction to go, and no one knows how to help you either, because you've created such a unique system in your own life that it's hard for anyone else's system to, you know, configure, and, you know, it's incompatible with a lot of these other systems. And what I'm saying is, I think it's important for people to feel comfortable in their own body. I think people should explore their own interests and have their own identities. But I think we have to realize that 95% of all human beings, and in fact, most of us with the rest of the natural world, 95% of that is the same. We share the same goals. We share the same wants. Everyone wants to be comfortable and to be happy. And if we can realize that and understand that, we will get to a place that's even remotely close to everyone getting what they want, without in some ways realizing that what you want so much different than others. And you got to sometimes try to find a place where everyone is getting closer to getting what they want. It's a win-win-win across the board. And I know that's an ideal, and that seems hard to ever reach. But I think at the same time, I think we can get to this place where we are acting together, we are cooperating, because again, that is our strong suit, our true strong suit as human beings is cooperation. And I think that through traditions, we continue to bring us together and realize that we do share all these things. And yes, we can have differences, and yes, we can all be different, but that doesn't mean we're not still human beings with souls, and, you know, that have goodness in our hearts, and maybe not, and maybe some people are shitty, but at the same time, they're not less human. So be nice to people and carry on traditions. Make traditions if you don't have any, and if you don't want to go down the religious route, because that's one of the things I think that still draws people to organized religion, is that it's organized and it's traditional, and it has these regular, you know, calendar days to celebrate different things, and it brings people together on a regular basis. And I think that's important. I wish it didn't have to be through organized religion, because that has other things. But like I said, it's important to get together people, whether it's at the fucking Legion, whether it's at the bar that you go to every Tuesday, you know, have fun, be with people, be with your friends, be with your family, even, you know, and if you don't like those people, find someone you do like and hang out with them. But remember, we're social beings, so don't forget. go to the pumpkin carve next year. Anyway, so thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for listening. Hopefully some people that maybe were at the podcast shout out. What's up, everybody? Hey, Mikey. But yeah, hey, B-Rye, hey, Maddie, hey, G. Willie. Anyway, everybody. Thanks again. We'll see you next year at the next part, Pumpkin Carve. Love y'all. Peace.